All right, hello, and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and today I want to talk a little bit about narratives, then I want to talk a little bit about facts, then I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin and adoption, and then I want to show you a couple of interesting developments in the charts. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, sit back, relax, hit that like button, and let's get into this. I don't know if you were aware of this. I wasn't aware of this until yesterday, but the game has changed. We're no longer talk about bull and bear markets. Apparently, we now talk about kangaroo markets. So I don't know if this is the new meta. That remains to be seen. But moving on to more serious issues, okay? Look, every week seems to be a big week these days. And this week is apparently no exception. Today, we've got the Fed Chair Powell speaking, and I really want to know if the market is going to do what it did at FOMC last week, which was just listen to what he said and then completely disregard it and run higher. So is that something we're going to see? Will, therefore, this dollar, which we'll get to in just a moment, turn out to be a bull trap that quickly gets reversed? Of course, that remains to be seen. Anything can happen. I'm also looking for yields to come off on the back of Fed continuing to lose credibility. Then on Thursday, we've got unemployment claims. Again, it's going to be market moving most probably. And then Friday, we have the consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. It's my expectation that we're going to see month over month inflation possibly increase a little bit. And I think this is going to spook the market in the short term. However, we're still looking for year over year inflation data to come down. So it's going to be another volatile week. It seems like every week is a volatile week. But what can you do apart from enjoy the ride? Big question for you. Did you notice which stocks were getting bid up yesterday? It was the meme stocks. We're talking GameStop, AMC. These are obvious signs that excess liquidity in the system, and soon retail is going to jump right in. And the reason I point this out is because there are many narratives circulating at the moment, but narratives and facts are two different things. I keep hearing, where's the liquidity going to come from? Liquidity is being withdrawn from the market. How is this possible? But again, facts speak for themselves, and we're just not seeing the type of action that you would normally see when people don't want to invest and there is no liquidity in the system. During times of poor liquidity, you do not see meme stocks being bid. I showed in yesterday's video, another narrative that's going around is that this current rally in the US equities has to fail, and it has to fail because it was mostly based on short covering. Well, as I showed in yesterday's video as well, if you were to take that approach and say, well, the short covering rally that occurred back here 10 years ago was just a short covering rally and therefore it was destined to fail, you would have missed out on a monumental uptrend for the stock market. So don't make the mistake of falling for this rally is destined to fail because it's a short covering rally narrative either. There's also this Bank of America CEO saying the company is preparing for a potential US debt default. And I think Cheds nails it here. He says, lol, sure. This is exactly my attitude as well. Again, it's another narrative. It's another reason to be bearish. Sounds really scary, but I'm not going to go into it now because I've got a whole video on it. If you're really interested in it, just search my name and US debt default or something like that, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. But it's not really an option. It's just not really an option for them to default. All paths lead to the debasement of fiat currency. All paths lead to much, much higher inflation eventually, because that's the only way to service the debt before, of course, a massive reset. So plenty of narratives already so far. And now we've got the dollar, this whole dollar narrative. I saw a tweet yesterday where somebody said, where's the dollar bears now? Okay, like, are we looking at the same chart? Are we looking, how can you say after this, where are the bears now? I mean, they've been right. Look at the state of this. Absolutely massive drawdown, and we get this tiny little pop, and then we're seeing things like, ha, told you so. Where are the bears now? I mean, it's just so early. It's so early. There's so much, what's the word? Just nonsense going around at the moment. Everything needs to be taken one day at a time. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But if you're going to be celebrating this, then there's something wrong with your brain. Is it technically a repair? Yes. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to fail. We've said this multiple times. You need to get above this high to even remotely feel confident about this repair. You need to certainly clear above this high back here, which is about here on this trend line. So if we were to get this pop up and clear this convincingly and then break out, maybe retest and go, once we're in this sort of neighborhood, then that narrative is acceptable. Where are the bears now? But how do you know? Just like I don't know that's not going to happen, how do you know that we're not just going to do this after the Fed speaks today? And given how powerful of a downtrend this has been, that wouldn't be surprising at all. So there's all these narratives going around, but the facts are the facts, okay? This is way too early to be celebrating bullishness in the dollar. Here's the Dow Jones, okay? The Dow Jones is it's less than 7% from its all-time high, okay? Again, not really a bear market rally type of look. Here's the DAX, and the DAX is just over 5% from its all-time high. The Nifty 50 continues to make new all-time highs, and the FTSE 100 is also at new highs. So none of this really speaks to bear market rally now, does it? Now, it doesn't mean things couldn't change and they couldn't change quickly, but they haven't changed yet, remember. At the same time, look at the VIX. Okay, I keep pointing at this chart and I keep saying, where's the crash? Where's the spike in the VIX? Where's the stock market crash? And of course, the crash doesn't show up because the VIX is still contained. The VIX is likely, even if it has some sort of wick today, it's still likely going to end up pushing lower over this week. So you must remain unbiased. Do not marry narratives. Remember, reading a story in the paper or on the internet that says there's a risk of debt default does not warrant you selling your entire portfolio and becoming uber bearish. Okay, so just let the charts tell you what to do. There's no need to have any emotions. I don't pay attention to any of these narratives. I don't believe any of these things. I just look at the chart and I say, what does the chart tell me to do? Just briefly before we move away from here, we're also talking about this. We've said that, look, if we break out on the 10-year yield and go higher, then this will, of course, be the time to flip bearish. This will become the time to say, okay, this is going to really pressure risk assets. But if this does what I think it's going to do and reverse here, maybe even with a bull trap first and then reverse lower sharply, then there's no risk off case. There's no bearish narrative. We're going to see risk assets move higher. And the same is true of this 2-year yield. If this becomes a back test that then resolves higher, again, it could be time to start thinking against the risk on look that I believe we're morphing into. But if this retest fails, which I suspect it might, if we do something like this and then break down, then believe me, risk is going to come on and it's going to come on quickly. The market is still front running this pause. I truly believe that. And just before we move on to some Bitcoin news, okay, the market is still in a strong uptrend. This is the S&P 500. We are above the 200-day moving average, above the macro downtrend line, this big one here. And we're in a rising channel, as you can see, and we're above the key support of 3,900. Charts don't lie. They do fail sometimes, but they don't lie. And right now, this does not speak to new lows coming in the stock market. So from narratives to Bitcoin, Bitcoin and crypto exchange BitMEX, Bitfinex and Bybit are all going to send aid packages to the victims of the earthquake in Turkey. Bitcoin is actually much more suited to use for aid. And the reason for this is anyone from anywhere in the world can send it without any permission, without any verification, without any bank checks. You can just move the money from one Bitcoin wallet to another Bitcoin wallet, and it doesn't have to get hung up in banks. It doesn't have to get verified, and there's no exchange rates or any of that. Okay, you can just ping it across the world instantly via Lightning, or if it's a much larger sum, then it will be done in under 10 minutes. So Bitcoin is actually much better suited for sending aid abroad than fiat currency is, and we're seeing that here, which I love to see personally. Half of all Bitcoin has not moved in 2 years. Did you know that? A record amount of users are deciding to hold their wealth in the world's first decentralized monetary network for the long term. This indicates growing confidence in the future value of Bitcoin. Most people, once they get a stack of Bitcoin, don't want to sell it. Certainly don't want to sell it down here. They're waiting for much higher numbers. Meanwhile, the Lightning Network capacity has just hit another new all-time high. Bitcoin continues to scale. This thing truly is building massive amounts of momentum. And speaking of momentum, Tesla Block and Blockstream are all teaming up to mine Bitcoin from solar power in Texas. So they'll use the sun in Texas to generate electricity. Then they use the batteries that Tesla make, I would imagine, to store it. We'll hook up Bitcoin miners to mine Bitcoin for profit. And then they can put this profit back to building what they call the gigagrid. So by using extra energy for Bitcoin mining, the profit helps lower the cost of building new solar panels and Elon Musk's Tesla mega packs. 2023 is shaping up for Bitcoin's price action to look a lot like 2019's price action, as you can see here. 2019 at the bottom, we did this sort of broadening wedge and then resolve to the upside. Is that what we're about to do? This, as you know, if you've watched this channel before, this is my preferred look. Doesn't mean that we couldn't roll over and we couldn't roll over quickly, but for now, this is my primary expectation for Bitcoin. So I've already kind of covered half the charts. Not really a great deal to say other than let's hop into an S&P chart. Look where we are, okay? Bouncing off of support. So if we break down, this will be our first early warning sign. But for now, I'm not overly worried about this. We'll see what the Fed says today. The VIX, of course, as I showed earlier, is not really speaking to a stock market plunge at the moment. Again, that can change and it can change quickly, but it hasn't changed yet. Dow Jones continues to move sideways in no man's land, as you can see here. But to me, this speaks to consolidation before a move higher. Of course, I'll flip my narrative if this rolls over and takes out these lows from back here. But for now, all the while we are grinding sideways, I will expect this to resolve higher. The NASDAQ got super extended, didn't it, really? And I was saying that I expected Monday, Tuesday, and even into Wednesday to see some downside for the NASDAQ. We could still come all the way down to around 12k without me sweating one bit. So as long as we're above this upward sloping orange support line, then I think we can continue to push this trade, lose this orange support line, and that will be our first warning sign that this rally is perhaps not for real and the bears are right after all. FTSE 100 still looks good to me, doesn't it? We are above this upward sloping red support line. We've kind of broken out. We made a higher high. It looks like we're going to be sort of chopping around here before this final push up to what I expect will be the take profit at around 8,500. Tesla looks really good. It's the same deal, isn't it? All the while we're above this, there's no reason not to continue to push this trade. So is 200 incoming? And then if that is, can we get up to 230 something? That of course remains to be seen. All the while we're above this orange upward sloping support line, I will continue to push this trade. Gold and silver, I'm not really interested in until we can get a better setup. So this could be a buy at support, if you want to call it that. You could maybe redraw this slightly so it looks more like this, and you could say you're buying support inside of a channel. Those trades aren't for me personally. So sitting on the side, patiently waiting for a decent entry. And the same is true of silver. I think if we can get a flush down below this sort of 20.5, this area here, let me just color this so you can see what I'm talking about exactly. Get a flush below those stops there, which I believe there'll be a bunch of liquidity sat underneath there. So if we can get down there and then sort of get a breakout of a trend line, that will be a long from me. But for now, I don't really expect to be trading the metals for a little while at least. Of course, I will update you if that changes. So Bitcoin, if it's going to take out this high, I think it needs to do it over the coming couple of days, but I do kind of expect that, as I keep saying over and over again. If I hop into our fractal chart and flip it onto log so you can see what's going on, I mean, we're kind of tracing this pretty well, aren't we, in terms of time? So we got a little bit overheated, but you know, like I said, if this is going to resolve to the upside like I suspect, then it's going to do it in the next couple of days. And if not, then that's fine as well. We'll have our answer and we'll find out, because it will do something like this, won't it? So either way, we'll learn something. But for now, I am cautiously optimistic about seeing continued upside for Bitcoin and crypto. ETH as well. ETH looks quite good, doesn't it? So not really much to say about that. MATIC continues to push up. XRP continues to do a whole heap of nothing. And the Wyckoff chart for Bitcoin, you know, continues to look really good. So are we about to explode to the upside? I think quite possibly. Geo's still doing a whole lot of nothing, so that is what it is. XLC still kind of pushing up. So again, long and strong continue to push. I'm going to draw a trend line here. I think we have a significant trend established. So we could draw something like this. And if we lose that, then that will be our first warning sign. And I might even close the trade out, depending on how severe the damage is when we break that. Lastly, the blockchain stocks. Look, Coinbase doing really well. So long and strong continue to push. A bit of a longer term play for me, these stocks. Here's MicroStrategy and here's Riot as well. So Riot's still looking pretty healthy. Marathon as well, slowly but surely working its way up. So this kind of speaks to rounding, but we'll see how this goes. Like I said, I do expect Bitcoin to resolve higher over the coming days. So all four of those equities should rocket higher. And then we can look at taking some risk off of these trades, I think. So that's all from me today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Not a great deal to say, really. I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens over the coming days. As I keep saying, I'm expecting weakness Monday, Tuesday, and maybe even into Wednesday. So I kind of half expect the market to do a turnaround Tuesday today, but maybe that won't come until Wednesday. Whatever happens, I'm sort of still expecting to see the market close green at the end of the week. So if that happens, great. And if it doesn't, then there'll be a chance to reassess somewhere along the way. If you found value here today, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you want to continue to get all these updates for free on all of my trades, win, lose, or draw as a pro swing trader, along with free call outs, setups well ahead of time, as always. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy your week. Take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.